What is up, everybody? Matt Moda here to give you my week one favorite NFL player prop bets. We're talking specifically for NFL Sunday. So Thursday night football, Friday night football, Monday night football, all these primetime games come out in a separate video, with Sunday getting its own dedicated video. I'm going to have five NFL player props for you guys to lock in this video, four of which are of the plus money banger variety, four of which are also in the anytime touchdown market as well. Instead of recapping individual days, it gets kind of confusing with a game on Thursday, a game on Friday, a game on Monday. I'm just going to do my recaps after the week has already finished. So I don't have a recap of how week one has gone. As soon as we get onto week two, I'll start recapping the entire season and kind of go from there, just to let everybody know what the process is. I have high hopes for this video. I'm sitting here in my Yoshi shirt, and we all know when I'm sitting here with my Yoshi shirt, it means we're going to have a good day. Hopefully that happens in this video. If you are new to my channel, I promise I don't always wear this Yoshi shirt, but I would appreciate it if you could subscribe to my YouTube channel, like and comment on this video. Let me know the player props that you like. Let me know what I got right, what I got wrong, all that good stuff. And then I do have a dub club where I send all of my bets out. It's only $5 a month. It gets you everything that I'm playing all football season, basketball, and then as we're at the end of baseball season, gets sent directly to your phone via text, email, or Telegram. So if you're interested in that, you don't always want to watch the YouTube videos, or you want to get plays early, that's the Dub Club. If you're not interested in that, completely fine. You can still get everything for free on YouTube, which is going to start right now. Play number one, and I'm going these in just order of kind of how the day goes in terms of 1 o'clocks and on. Play number one. Josh Allen, anytime touchdown, minus 105 odds at BetMGM. Now, I sent this play out to my dub club at plus 100. When I checked right before recording, the best offered price was now minus 105. So that is a reason to be on the dub club. But to be clear, I would still lock this in at minus 105. That's what I am officially going to track, because that's what went out on YouTube, what the majority of people were able to get. And I absolutely love this bet, even at the minus 105. I'm actually going to have two plays in this game, but for the anytime touchdown for Josh Allen, I generally try to get plus money when I am playing these, but in some situations, the minus price, especially the short minus odds, is still worth it. And that's what we have here with Josh Allen. Last year, he scored a touchdown in 14 of 19 games. That gives him a 74% hit rate, which is pretty good. And he ended the season as just a touchdown machine. As Joe Brady took over as the offensive coordinator, as they kind of transitioned their offense to be a little bit less through Stephon Diggs, a little bit more run heavy, Josh Allen scored a touchdown in 8 of his last 10 games, and he actually had multiple touchdowns in 4 of those games. So for those of you counting at home, here's how math works. He had 4 games with multiple touchdowns. He had 2 games with 0 touchdowns, meaning he had more games in which he scored twice than in which he didn't score at all. And in those last 10 games, he had a total of 12 touchdowns. Just incredible. And the Bills have a good running back. I like James Cook. He's on my fantasy team. Doesn't matter. I like James Cook. He's good. The coaching staff just does not like to use him in the red zone as a short goal line, short down back, or anything like that, short yard line back, whatever the word I'm looking for. They don't like to use him in the red zone as they get closer to the end zone, to scoring a touchdown. Like carries inside the 5-yard line, those are the money carries. James Cook only had 5. He only had 5 carries inside the 5-yard line. 40 running backs, literally 40, had more carries than him inside the 5-yard line. He only took 10% of the Bills' carries from inside the 5. And keep in mind, this was a Bills team that was tied for the 3rd most rush attempts in this category. So it's not like the Bills just never ran the ball. They just didn't run it with James Cook. Josh Allen had 14 carries from inside the 5-yard line, so almost 3 times as much as James Cook, and he was able to turn those into 8 rushing touchdowns. So when they get close to the goal line, they run the ball with Josh Allen, and then he can also score from farther out, which we saw plenty of times last year. But then as for the matchup, they're going up against a terrible Cardinals defense, literally the 2nd worst defense in the NFL last year, according to DVOA, according to PFF, the literal worst defense in the NFL. So very, very confident that the Bills are going to be able to move the ball. Very, very confident that when they move the ball down into the red zone, it's going to be Josh Allen time. And I haven't even talked about all the vacated targets for Josh Allen. I mean, they're going to rely on his legs even more, is my prediction. That's play number one. Play number 2, we're sticking in the same game. We're going in line with those vacated targets, and we're taking Dalton Kincaid, 60 plus receiving yards, plus 130 odds at DraftKings. So one thing that I did last year when I had a lot of success with, I called it pumped up props. Instead of taking a player prop at the main line, you pump those numbers up a little bit, you get plus money odds. If you hit them at enough rate, you're making money. That's just how sports betting works. And you saw the graphic at the beginning of the video, which I should have mentioned. We were up over 20 units on player props last year, which honestly isn't amazing. I was hoping for a better year, but still up over 20 units on player props is fine. And I mentioned how bad this Cardinals defense is, right? They stink. They're terrible. I also mentioned how the Bills lost a ton of weapons, right? Just making sure that we remember that. That leads us to Dalton Kincaid, who I think he's going to have an awesome season. I am all in on Dalton Kincaid this season, and I think he's going to have a great game against the Cardinals, who stink. Looking at Dalton Kincaid, he had a great rookie year as far as rookie tight ends go. Just don't really remember Sam Laporta because he had an outlier good rookie year. He was amazing. But overall, Dalton Kincaid had 673 receiving yards on 91 targets. That's the fourth most, both receiving yards and fourth most targets from a rookie tight end since the year 2010. Generally, tight ends not named Sam Laporta take time to develop, but Kincaid ended up coming up pretty big for the Bills last year. Now, sure, he only hit this number of 60 receiving yards in 5 of 16 regular season games last year. But as I mentioned, the 2024 receiving unit for the Bills, wildly different from 2023. Stephon Diggs is gone. Gone are his 160 targets and his 107 receptions. Both of those were the 6th most in the NFL. Not only Diggs, they also lost Gabe Davis. Overall, from the Bills roster last year to this year, they have the 2nd most vacated targets from their 2023 roster. So the guess here is that a huge benefactor of those vacated targets is going to be Dalton Kincaid. As I mentioned, the Cardinals defense stunk last year, probably going to stink even worse this year. They had the 2nd worst or worst defense last year, depending on what metrics you look at. Not going to be any better this year. They have the PFF's rated worst secondary in the entire NFL. Dalton Kincaid is going to be able to exploit that secondary. That's play number 2. Play number 3, I am taking Anthony Richardson, anytime touchdown, plus 120 odds at Bet365. It feels chalky going with Anthony Richardson to score a touchdown, but we're getting him at plus 120, and it actually was plus 130 earlier. I unfortunately was not able to get it at that price. I still like it at plus 120, and this feels like a smash play. I don't really understand why the books are pricing Josh Allen at minus 105, but Anthony Richardson at plus 120. I get that Allen had a much larger sample size, but let's not forget what Anthony Richardson did when he played football last year. He only played 2 full games, and then he had 2 games in which he left early. Let's just count all 4 games. 4 rushing touchdowns, at least 1 rushing touchdown in 3 of those 4 games. The only time that he did not score a rushing touchdown was a game in which he only had 2 carries and he left early with a shoulder injury. The other 3 games, he scored a rushing touchdown. In one of the games in which he left early with an injury, he scored 2 rushing touchdowns and then left the game with a concussion. You want to know the team that he scored 2 rushing touchdowns against? Again, not even in the full game, would be the team that they are playing in week 1, which are the Houston Texans. Now, those of you that have been following me along in the offseason know I'm high on the Texans this year. They are my Super Bowl prediction. That's because of their offense, not because of their defense. Now, I don't think their defense is going to be terrible, but their defense is definitely not going to be amazing. And if you want to make the argument that maybe defenses have had a year to watch the Shane Steichen system, to watch film on Anthony Richardson, he did not look great in the preseason, which I don't really care about that. But if you want to tell me that because of all this film that the teams have, that Richardson's not going to be as good as he was this year, he's not going to be as good this year as he was at scoring touchdowns last year, that's fine. But you do need to keep in mind that we know what Shane Steichen is like when he has a rushing quarterback. He was the offensive coordinator of the Eagles in 2021 and 2022. Jalen Hurts had 10 and 13 rushing touchdowns in those 2 years. So we know that this offensive system for Shane Steichen can produce a ton of rushing touchdowns for the quarterbacks, even without the tush push. So I love rocking with Anthony Richardson to score a touchdown, especially at the plus 120 odds. Next up, our 4th pick of the video, Kenneth Walker, anytime touchdown, plus 100 odds at DraftKings. Walker is a player that I do think is somewhat forgotten. Like in fantasy conversations, you don't hear a ton about Ken Walker. I'm actually really high on him this year as well. I'm really high on this Seahawks offense, and I'm pretty down on this Broncos defense. Now, to get the negative out of the way first, which I kind of like to play devil's advocate so you can just kind of see where my mind is with all these things. The offensive line for the Seahawks might, in fact, be terrible. They have the PFF's second worst offensive line in the NFL heading into the season, which is not great. Normally, I try to fade situations like that, but I do think that there is some potential for the Seahawks offensive line to be a little bit better, as they have two young tackles who played awesome in 2022, not as good in 2023, whether that was just because their play suffered or because of injuries. The tackles were rookies in 22, were awesome, were worse in 23. So if they can perform kind of up to their potential, what we saw in 22, they can at least be good on the ends. And then their interior, yeah, it might be a mess. They're going to need some players to step up there, without a doubt. The good news is the Broncos are not a defense that I'm worried about being able to take advantage of a poor offensive line. Last year, the Broncos ended with the second worst rush defense in the NFL, according to DVOA. Now, I know you're going to say, well, they allowed a complete outlier 70-point abomination to the Miami Dolphins in week 3. I agree with you. That is a statistical outlier. Let's look at the data from week 4 and on. They allowed the most rushing yards per attempt from week 4 and on, and they allowed the fifth most rushing yards from week 4 on as well. So even if you take out that outlier game and only look at the data from week 4 and on, it still paints them in a bad light. Now, I will admit they did not give up a ton of rushing touchdowns. So if you just look at rushing touchdowns, you're not going to think there's anything there. That's kind of noise more than anything. They're known to be a terrible rushing defense, so I'm not really scared of the fact that they didn't allow a ton of rushing touchdowns specifically. And Walker did not have a great year. He also wasn't terrible. He scored at least one touchdown in 7 of 15 games. He had 9 total touchdowns, as twice he scored multiple times. But as I mentioned, I think he's set up for a big year. I think that they're going to rely on him a lot. I like the new offensive system they have with Ryan Grubb coming over from college. And I think he's got a great matchup to start the year off hot in week 1 against the Broncos, as I already detailed. That's play number 4. Now we're looking at play number 5, our 5th and final pick of the video. Also, the spiciest play in terms of odds is Cooper Kupp anytime touchdown, plus 150 odds at bet 365. I think a lot of people are going to be on Puka Nacua. They're going to see the stats from last year's playoff game, and they're going to say, all right, I'm taking Puka. I get it. Puka was awesome last year. He was awesome in the playoffs. I am trusting that Cooper Kupp is going to be the one to start the year hot. And if you look at that wild card matchup, Puka Nacua went bananas. 9 receptions, 181 yards, 1 touchdown. Cooper Kupp, 5 receptions for 27 yards, like 6 players had more receiving yards than Cooper Kupp in that playoff game. I don't care. I'm still on him in week 1 to score a touchdown. Even as Cooper Kupp missed time last year, he still had a good year, but a little bit of a lost season. Even as Puka Nacua was breaking records as a rookie, Cooper Kupp was still the go-to receiver for the Rams in the red zone. He only played 12 games compared to Nakua's 17. Kupp led the Rams in red zone targets. He had 21 to Nakua's 15. And he also led the Rams in first read targets as well, which is also what I wanted to mention. So when they were designing plays in the red zone, they were designing them to Cooper Kupp. And this is huge, heading into 2024, Cooper Kupp has been able to stay healthy. Last year, he missed the entire summer in the first couple games with a hamstring injury. He's healthy now. He's played all summer. Now, Stafford missed time, but Stafford looks like he's back and healthy, so we're not concerned there. While Puka Nacua has been the one to miss time. Nacua has basically missed this entire summer with a knee scope. Now, Nakua's going to play in week 1, so this is not me saying bet Cooper Kupp because Nakua's going to be out. No, Puka Nacua will play. But that's valuable missed time, and we saw what valuable missed time can do to a receiver with Cooper Kupp last year. And then as for the matchup, it's a phenomenal matchup for pass catchers on the Rams. I wanted to go with Cooper Kupp touchdown because Nacua could have 100 yards. I don't know which receiver is going to blow up. I'm more confident that Cooper Kupp is going to be the one to score a touchdown. The Lions were just unable to stop anything through the air last year. They allowed the 4th most passing yards and the 6th most passing touchdowns on the entire season, but they got worse as the season went on. From week 10 on, they allowed the most passing yards per game and the 3rd most passing touchdowns. So Stafford passing yards, that could be a play. One of these receivers is going to blow up from a yards perspective. I don't know which one it is. I'm more confident that Cooper Kupp is going to be the one to score a touchdown, so I'm going to go with him. And that's all we got. 5, one hand, whatever you want to look at, 5 bangers for you guys to lock in for NFL Week 1 betting slate. Incredibly excited for Week 1. Let's hope that Week 1 goes great for us. And that's all we got. Again, appreciate everybody for watching. Make sure to like the video, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Check out the Dub Club if you are interested, and have a good one.